It can be difficult to remember that many of Hollywood's greatest actors and actresses are just ordinary people. This means they can make mistakes just like you and me. However, sometimes these mistakes can cost you your career.
What's the forecast?
High tonight, low tomorrow, 100% chance of hangover.
Before we jump into it, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more great videos. Mel Gibson was once one of Hollywood's top stars. Many of his movie contracts would demand tens of millions of dollars for Mel to appear in the production. It's been said that some of his financial requests continue to rival modern-day actors, which is saying a lot considering Mel Gibson was mostly active in the 1990s and early 2000s. It was reported that in 1998, he was paid a minimum of $20 million for his role in Lethal Weapon 4. He's most well known for his role in the Lethal Weapon series, as well as his involvement in the controversial The Passion of the Christ film. However, Mel had always struggled with alcohol addiction, and it seemed that this finally caught up to him in the mid-2000s. He was recorded during a DUI traffic stop making terrible remarks about Jewish people and women. This proved to be a pivotal moment for his career as many of his fans turned on him. However, just 4 years later, his career had begun to recover, though he was recorded once again making terrible claims about his ex-wife, as well as promoting racist lies and hate speech. This caused his talent agency to cut ties with him, leaving his career in rubble. He's worked to improve himself, and his career is slowly making a comeback. However, it's unlikely that Mel Gibson will ever return to his former glory. Sheen has become one of the most infamous actors of all time. However, this is hardly due to his appearances on television. Instead, this can be attributed to his public downfall that took place about a decade ago. Sheen was once on top of the world. He was bringing in millions of dollars and was the star of the hit sitcom 2.5 Men. However, Charlie had a bad habit of partying way too much. He's had a history of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and overdoses. He's been admitted to rehab multiple times, though his behavior while maintaining the lead role on 2.5 Men is what caused his career to plummet. After Charlie had been admitted to rehab once again while filming the show, the creator of the series, Chuck Lorre, had enough of Charlie's antics and fired him.
Charlie's Angels.
This caused Charlie to have several public meltdowns and take part in some of the most bizarre interviews we've ever seen.
Yeah, I am on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen.
He would go on his infamous tiger blood rants and continue to brag about how he was winning at life, even though he's now considered another failed actor.
Can we talk about it after my head stops exploding?
However, Charlie used his newfound publicity to his advantage and licensed various pieces of merch, and would make appearances at events across the country. Though this didn't last long, and Charlie would soon find himself jobless. His career has never returned to what it once was. Paul Rubins is yet another actor who was on top of the world in the 1980s. Paul had assumed the role of Pee Wee Herman for the series Pee-wee's Playhouse. He became a pop culture icon for his role in the show, which proved to be incredibly popular with younger audiences. He was beloved by families around the world. However, that all came crashing down in 1991. Paul was arrested at an adult theater after he was caught by workers while being indecent. Even though his show, Pee-wee's Playhouse, had already officially ended, this didn't bode well for his career. His actions caused CBS to pull all reruns of the show and cut ties with Paul completely. This also caused a series of public outcries from news organizations that questioned his roles in children's programming. Paul avoided public confrontation for the rest of the 1990s, only appearing on television again in 1999, though he was once again arrested for indecent behavior in 2002. This once again sent his career into a downward spiral. Though most people had forgiven him since his initial arrest, this proved Paul was not a changed man and caused many viewers to question his performances on screen. Paul has finally begun to make television appearances once again and has partnered with Netflix to continue the Pee-wee series, though his career is still severely tarnished from his behaviors. He's slowly making his way back into the public eye, but we don't expect his career to fully recover. Jennifer Grey's story explains how we, as a society, have grown over the last few decades. Jennifer was working on an incredible career in Hollywood back in the 1980s. She had starred in several award-winning films and was set to be one of the country's greatest rising stars. She had secured roles in Red Dawn, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Dirty Dancing. She had won a Golden Globe as an actress and was expected to be a huge hit with audiences throughout the 90s. However, in the 90s, she decided to have surgery to change the appearance of her nose. This caused her career to end overnight. Grey spoke to a journalist and said, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous." There was a lot of public outcry about Jennifer in the months surrounding her surgery. She said it was like being in a witness protection program or being invisible. Many of her former fans claimed that her nose surgery made her unrecognizable and ruined her appearance. However, Jennifer was purely doing it for herself to make herself feel more confident. She's managed to gain a few small roles since the surgery, however, she recalls her time under the knife as a surgery from hell. She says, "I'll always be the once famous actress that nobody recognizes because of a nose job." These days, it would be shocking for an actress to lose her career over a simple nose job. However, this case certainly explains the state of America in the 1980s and 90s. This young woman was expected to take the world by storm throughout the 1990s. She had just been given an Oscar for Best Actress in a Supporting Role, and it seemed like her career and future were finally beginning to fall into place. Though this all came crashing down when her career was completely stifled by her drug abuse. She had once again been one of the most critically acclaimed new actresses, though she was now a shell of her former self, struggling to keep her head above water. After receiving an Oscar, she became deeply involved in substance abuse. This caused her post-Oscar appearances to be few and far between, with her resume being essentially blank ever since. She's popped up in a few low-budget films and small roles, but it seems like her acting career has essentially ended. To make matters worse, her addiction negatively impacted her personal life as well. She ended up losing custody of her children to her ex-husband in 1998, all due to a few bad decisions that caused her life to derail completely. Her career never recovered, and she's a prime example of how drug addiction can consume your life. For anyone who's a fan of the series Criminal Minds, you may have heard about Thomas Gibson. Thomas had been part of the series since it originally aired back in 2005. He was one of the show's lead characters and gave stunning on-screen performances in every episode. However, his career with the series abruptly ended in 2016 when he reportedly kicked one of the show's producers. It was originally thought that he would simply be suspended from the series, but CBS worked alongside ABC to investigate the situation and found that he should be fired completely.
Give me your badge.
Ma'am?
You're suspended for 2 weeks without pay.
This was only one of 3 incidents involving Thomas that had taken place since 2010. It was reported that he had issues on set back in 2010 that caused the showrunners to become concerned about his role in the series. He also had a DUI just 3 years later. These situations have tarnished his reputation beyond repair. We don't know where Thomas's career will take him in the future, but it's unlikely he'll ever work for ABC or CBS ever again. Thomas is likely considered a liability by most production companies. Paris Hilton was once one of the biggest names in pop culture. She appeared in several television shows throughout the early 2000s and is the daughter of one of the most successful hotel owners in the world, Richard Hilton. However, as her career began to blossom, Paris became involved in some serious controversy when an explicit tape of her and her boyfriend in the bedroom was leaked online in 2003. Though in a shocking twist, this tape made her far more famous than before, and led to her securing roles in several reality television series. The real controversy for Paris Hilton wouldn't arise until 2012 when she was recorded making anti-gay remarks. She later apologized for these comments, but her Logo TV special had already been cancelled and her fans immediately turned on her. Since then, Paris has popped up in the public spotlight from time to time, but she's a shell of her former self, even though she's made many attempts to reclaim her fame and notoriety. Mark Saling's life story is laced with tragedy and deeply rooted trauma. Mark Saling starred as Puck in the television series Glee. He was loved by many fans of the series and proved that he had both a powerful singing voice and strong acting skills. He was one of the show's main characters and was one of the original cast members during the show's premiere. However, Mark had a darker side that he never shared with his co-stars or fans. Behind closed doors, Mark had been holding on to explicit images that would have landed him in jail for years. These allegations were brought to the attention of the police a short time after Mark broke up with a girlfriend. The girlfriend informed officers about his demented hobby, and investigations revealed that her accusations were correct. He was arrested and taken in for questioning. A short time later, news also broke that he had harmed a woman, making his public appearance that much worse. In the end, Mark was expected to be sentenced to a minimum of 3 years in prison. However, he ended his own life before he could be sentenced.